Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet Dr. Amy Ho. She is an emergency medicine physician. She's a writer, she's a speaker, and she believes that the ER is a window into the health of America. Her journey just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, there's a lot of doctor shows on TV, and sometimes they glamorize or sensationalize the job of an ER physician. But Dr. Amy Ho is in the studio to tell us it may be one of the most important roles in medicine because she gets a window into the health of America. Dr. Ho, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Yeah. All right. So when did you know you wanted to be an ER physician?
So interestingly, I didn't think I wanted to be a physician at all. I started about age 13 or 14, really interested in healthcare insurance as a topic because it was actually a high school debate topic.
Yeah.
So as I researched what is healthcare insurance, I remember the moral indignation I had that people pay money to insurance companies to be there for them when they need something at their most vulnerable moments. And healthcare insurance companies make money by not paying out and not being there for them. They literally call medical care a loss. They have a medical loss ratio. So my interest in health policy and insurance companies led me to medical school because I wanted to understand medicine as an insider. So it was a reconnaissance mission. Then I just absolutely fell in love with the ER. And I said, wow, patient care is for me. But the ER is a window of everything that breaks in America, not just in healthcare, but in society. So it was the perfect place for me to watch, to hear stories, to be a storyteller, and to give voice to the voiceless, who are the patients that I see.
Yes, much more from Dr. Amy in a minute. We found a great video. Let's go ahead and roll back.
Dr. Amy Ho works ER cases.
Amy Faith Ho, MD. She also is a writer and a speaker.
I'm Amy Ho.
She's been featured and published on NPR, The Today Show, Chicago Tribune, and many other platforms. Furthermore, her speaking and media engagements include presentations with TEDx, American Medical Association, American Academy of Emergency Medicine, and much more.
Amy Ho, who connects with patients and society.
What strikes me about you is that you're a great communicator, and not everybody in the ER.
Thank you.
Not everybody in the ER has a bedside manner, knows how to talk to a family, knows how to communicate a message through the media. Where does that skill come from?
Honestly, I think it's honed from the bedside. I think you're right. Not everyone is a great communicator. But in the ER in particular, when you meet a patient for the first time, you say, "Hi, I'm Dr. Ho. Tell me about," and the thing you're asking them to tell you about is actually usually highly sensitive to them. And you have to build that rapport and that trust within seconds because you have the first few minutes to realize, Are they dying? Are they at risk of dying? What can you do to help? Because that's literally what the ER does, is triage and address the most acute issues.
Yes.
So I think over many reps of thousands of patients, you learn that sometimes less is more. Sometimes actually being a great communicator is being a great listener. And coming from a great communicator, I think you probably know better than anyone that listening and hearing what they're worried about or interested to learn about or to diagnose is the key part of communicating with them.
Absolutely. We're going to pull up your personal website, and as we scroll on the website, you do a lot of public speaking. Tell us about some of the audiences that you like to speak to.
I absolutely love talking to what we call general population, but those that are not within healthcare. Because to me, healthcare is a microcosm of everything that breaks in America. And it's not just the healthcare issues. There's many healthcare issues that are broken as well. But you look at examples like climate change. When Texas had Winter Storm Uri, I realized that this is a climate change, maybe an infrastructure issue. Dallas froze down. We didn't know. If you remember, plumbing was breaking, there was no electricity for days. And what you saw in the ER was you had patients that couldn't live in their homes, not only because it was cold, but because they had no electricity for their oxygen. They didn't have dialysis centers, which means you literally cannot live without getting dialysis. So it changed the frame of a non-healthcare topic into a public health one. It really was a public health catastrophe.
Yes.
And so I love taking these stories and reflecting them back to people that may not realize what it looks like. I think the ER is beautifully a place that sees everyone and takes care of everyone. So I've learned more about the homeless population, taking care of them in the ER, than I have from any advocacy group. Similarly, for incarcerated patients, we treat people on death row. We treat people from federal prisons, from jail, and you form an opinion about what is America doing when it comes to the prison system.
Yes, she's given several TED Talks. We found a clip from one of them, and I'm going to have you set this up before we play it. So what are we about to watch?
So this was a TED Talk I actually gave locally at SMU, and I was telling the story of a patient who I saw that came in actually from the prison system, but he was a white supremacist. So he had abdominal pain. When I walked in, he did not like my ethnicity. He did not like our Black nurse. He yelled at us. He spit at us. I finally examined him. He had a swastika around his abdomen. And the setup for this is, as we're talking to him, we finally get the chance to treat him. And then I talk about what my takeaway is from treating patients like this.
Beautiful. Let's go ahead and roll the clip.
So we swooped in, we called for his power of attorney to consent to treat him, and we filled him full of medicines. Then we got him to surgery. And within a few hours, he was waking up in post-op. And this white supremacist had had his life saved by an Asian doctor, a Black nurse, and a Jewish surgeon. So this story sticks with me because this is the picture of what hate is. The law has condemned this man and cast him out of society and placed him behind bars. We morally have already rejected him and said that he is no longer part of us. And yet, when he comes in front of me, I have to find care and compassion and a connection to him as still part of our humanity so that we can save his life. And this is not the only case. I frequently will take care of battered women. And I'll go into the room and I'll talk to them. And I'll look at the strangulation scars on their neck. I'll look at the bruises all over their body. I'll look at the blood that is staining their pants. And then I'll walk out of the room, go into the next, and treat their assailant. And as I wash their assailant's lacerations and stitch them closed with care, I still think of the woman next door, knowing that they were the one that did that to them. I will see drunk drivers who plow their cars into pregnant mothers and their 3 children. And as I pump the drunk driver full of blood to try to save his life, I know that next door is the lifeless body of that mother, having just failed the heroics that we tried to give her. This is what hate is. This is what we see every day, and this is the challenge that we see while we try to take care of everyone with the same universal equality and dignity and respect that we can give all of them. The hate that we see in the emergency department is not unique to just healthcare. It's actually the hate that you see everywhere in the world, and so we have to come together to figure out how to battle it. So in the ER, we're unique in that we take care of murderers, rapists, terrorists of humanity, and yet, again, we treat them with dignity, equality, and respect. But how? How do you combat hate? How do you stare it in the eyes and hold its gaze? How do you face it in the flesh and not flinch? Compassion.
So powerful. What was the reaction to that?
I think it's the same reaction I had, which is thinking and introspection, because we have those moments, of course, in the ER, but everyone has those moments in their life too. And we have those as a society. You think of big movements, Black Lives Matters. You think of even political divide with the different administrations. And that is what is driving that, is hate. And so if we treat that with compassion, we'll actually be able to have productive conversations, productive discourse to better ourselves as a society and as a population.
All right, when you run for office, you do have that, that special smile, and I think you have something big ahead of you. I'm not sure what it is yet.
Thank you.
You also wrote an amazing book. It's a children's book. Let's go ahead and put it on the screen. All right, is Mommy a doctor or superhero? All right, tell us about this book.
Spoiler alert, the answer was yes. So when I was a young female in medical school, I actually wanted nothing more than to be a surgeon. Surgery is a fairly large training pathway. After medical school, it's at least 5 years of a residency. A lot of doctors do fellowship. So I remember I went to a mentor of mine who was a female surgeon. I said, hey, I really want to be a surgeon. And she said, wonderful. And, what else do you want to do in life? And I'm like, I want to, get married, have kids. I want to, have this healthcare advocacy part of my life that's really important to me. And she stopped me there and she said, you should not be a surgeon. You can't do it all. You need to pick one, and maybe you'll do it well, but the rest will suffer. And she started telling me the story about how she had a family and she felt like she was never there for them. And now the kids were grown, it was too late for her. And that just stuck with me, because this was a story that was being told by a mentor who meant well for me. She was giving me true advice. And I realized that this was the story of women in medicine. You even look at medical schools nowadays, and there are companies that come talk to young medical students about freezing their eggs because they know that training is so long and maybe women want to delay their fertility. And I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with that, but the story that doesn't come out is the positive side of that, which is, how do you explain to children who you love in a way that is completely impossible to articulate, but how do you articulate to them why it is that you're not spending time with them because there is something else that drives you, or something else that you think that you're meant to also commit time to? And that's where the birth of this story is to show children, is mommy a doctor or superhero, and show that beautiful side of it. And really, I think to show young women that you can do it all, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, anything else in your life, that you have powers that is more than what you would expect. And that was the message I wanted to show. You mentioned that it came out in COVID. And I remember in COVID time, that was one of the most impactful times in medicine for me, where you realize that, hey, I might be bringing something life-threatening home with COVID. We didn't know anything about the disease at the very beginning. And I knew that that was the time I wanted to publish and release this story, because it means so much to say, how do you balance the demands of work with the demands of life, and why it is that you actually can do both.
Well, in the final 2 minutes, I want you to look into the camera on the left and talk to that young lady, maybe the high school student who's still trying to figure herself out.
Yeah, you are more powerful than you think. So believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, the world will not do it for you, and you have it in you.
Beautiful. We're going to end with her website, which is amyfaithho.com, the great Dr. Amy Ho. Thanks for blessing us with your wisdom.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. It was a pleasure.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.